Patricia's here.
Everyone, thank you for showing. Great to see you all your love faces. I'm looking at everyone. Oh, Litsy's here, Denise is here, Dana's here. Yay, Dana, Kate and Wendy and Linda B, Jennifer, Christine, just met you. How great. I'm so glad you're here. Marianne, Mary Beth, Debbie. How you feeling today, Debbie? Okay? Good. Marcia, Irene, Linda P.
Did,
Cheryl, I
did
think
you
I
catch
got everyone.
everybody?
Bernie, I don't know if I didn't get you. I'm so sorry if you're reacting. It's an opportunity for you to see what's going on inside of yourself.
Well, I'm glad you all are here. I'm really grateful for all of your presence and all of your gifts. And I mean that in presence as in presents. You all have many, many gifts and presents that you've given me and Patricia over these many, many months and years. So I really appreciate you all. We're going to be talking about something that has been near and dear to Patricia and my heart for years. And I want to share my screen to give you a snapshot of what this is. Um, we'll be talking about this. I was so busy helping you get in, I didn't have this set up. So hold on just a minute here.
Hey, Kate and Wendy, Tanya, Tommy, welcome.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. The art of recovery, Patricia and I have been talking about for over a year, but we've been working on something new, and we wanted to share some thoughts and some ideas with you about expanding your journey in recovery. And today we're going to cover these issues, so these areas. We're going to explain who we are because some of you, Patricia, some of you know me, some of you know both of us, but some of you don't know either of us. So we're going to talk for just a minute about who we are. And then we're going to talk about these specific components, the practical path, where tools meet trust, building stuff's in the way, sustainable practices and personalized boundaries that honor your sensitivity. Whew, while creating a foundation of practical self-trust. You want to talk about the curious heart, Patricia?
Nothing's coming up except your components of recover. Oh, the curious. Okay, got it. Okay. The curious, the component of the curious heart that's so important to understand because we come in for weight loss unless and until we can explore other issues that are coming up. And that's what we call the curious heart, where patterns meet possibility, exploring emotional landscapes, what's going on, and behavioral patterns with compassion, curiosity, to transform struggles into understanding. We stick to a plan until we don't, and then we keep thinking it's because I'm not sticking to the plan. And the curious heart, these issues that come up through our heart that needs to be looked at is what's going on. And how do we deal with that? How do we do it till we get to the awakening and move on? So we have these components. Who are we? The practical path, curious heart, and the awakening self, where wisdom meets expression, discovering your authentic voice. Who are you in there? I know, I just want to lose weight. Why am I not going? Why am I not? How come I'm going back? How come I can't stick to it? Who is in there? Where wisdom meets expression, discovering your authentic voice beyond food stories and expanding into new possibilities through creativity and lived wisdom. Who am I if I'm not dealing with food all the time?
One of the things that we wanted to explain a little bit more carefully is who we are. And I would like to tell you a little bit about Patricia. She comes from a long history of 12 step, long study of the big book, a long study of the importance of sponsorship and the importance of healing and recovery. She also took an amazing course called the Empowerment course and decided right then and there she needed to be an empowerment coach. And she studied that with David Gershon and
Dale
Gail
Stroud.
Stroud. Yeah. You also struggled for decades with food addiction. We can call it whatever we want. The name is important, but you realized from the addictive perspective that the 12-step program really supported you. And for the almost 10 years, it's been 9+ years, right? Since you discovered recovery, discovered abstinence for food, and you've been working on that for the last 9 years. And I'm just honored that you and I are here together on this path.
Thank you. Yeah, so I have those some of that background. Also, I have been a life coach officially since 2004. I was really coaching before that because there really wasn't a lot of certification before that. And I'm now a coach for one of Everett Considine classes, a life coach. And Sonja comes from a long line of health-related healing through science. She healed herself and got very involved with science and healing the body. She's released 170 pounds. I only released 60 pounds.
Only.
I feel like subpar. 170 pounds after living decades in an uber fluffy body, she calls it, due to her sophisticated system, and has had to change the rules to work for her, finding what works for ourselves. And she went into a deep, deep study through herself. That's I think the important part here, Sonja, is that you and I have developed what we're developing through our own work first, and then bring.
Exactly. And that's why it was important for us to share this particular thing. Who are we? What gives us the right or the awareness to be able to talk about these things? What is underlying this? And you and I met in 2017 at a coffee shop. I don't know if it was the first time we'd actually met, but we sat down and we realized we needed to do something together. That was a long time ago. And you and I have been working specifically together on the art of recovery for probably 3 years, maybe, the concepts behind the art of recovery. And we've been perfecting it and expanding on it for a long time now. And one of the reasons that we've been able to do this is because we've watched our own journeys. You have worked deeply with the spiritual concepts and the underlying aspects of not only internal family systems and parts work, but also the spiritual aspects of people like Michael Singer and help me out.
If you talk to any of the people who are putting together trauma, any of the science, anything, they're all compiling the science, the mind work, the emotional work, the parts work, all of it's all part of what we have to learn, what we have to move through beyond sticking to a food plan. Yeah, we've studied many of these people and studied ourselves and studied the people we've been working with, and we've come to place certain things together in order to be able to move through and learn how to be with ourselves through the things that are stumping us.
Yes, sorry, I was just trying to figure out the technology of it, spotlight versus pinning. I can never remember. So when we have walked through these things, I realized back in 15 years ago that I needed to heal my asthma because I couldn't breathe. I realized that if I made changes to my food, I could make it happen. It's so ironic to me still that I made all these changes deliberately, intentionally eating this certain way for an entire year. And I released all of the reasons, the underlying reasons physiologically that I had asthma. I still struggle with allergies, but I don't get bronchitis every 3 months. I don't take any inhalers, or I was a hot mess. But it was ironic to me that I could not release the weight. And so I decided I was never going to release this weight. And until I realized, oh my gosh, I can release this weight. I don't have to be in abject fear of gaining it back either. And that's only because of the work that you and I have done to understand what's going on neurologically, to understand what's going on physiologically, to recognize the spiritual components, the importance of reframing, the importance of resonance and noticing. There are so many aspects to this that you and I have really honed in on not only to keep ourselves clean and healthy, but also to support others. You and
Yeah.
I have been coaching and supporting others for several years now, in particular on this particular subject. So, anything else you want to say about all that, my
Yeah,
friend?
I realized at a certain point I got some information. Bright line eating was very important for me to understand and bring in the brain component that I never understood before. And I was able to stick to for the plan. And in working with others, I started to see what's going on? Why are people going off? And it's deeper than just sticking to a food plan. If we could just stick, yeah, we do stick to a food plan until we don't. And what's that bridge there? What's missing? And I started to really look at components of that are also needed and how to interpret it to help people understand it. Because the big question I hear is, yes, I see what I'm doing wrong. What do I do? And that's our work, not our work, Sonia and my work. It's our work as individuals going through this. What, how do I get that connection? How do I understand that? That's our work. And so we've put these components and foundations together that we're going to talk about today. We can't give it to you. It's your work, but hopefully talking about it, being together, talking about it, finding a safe community, it'll start to drip in into the clarity for oneself.
Exactly. All right, let me share my screen again. And what is the art of recovery? You and I named this because we really want to focus on the positive. We want to look at things that are underlying together. It may be scary to think about diving in. When you just said it's your work, you weren't talking plural, you were talking singular you. And that can be very scary. There's a whole world of us underlying that feels we're alone in this on this journey. I'm the only one that does this, or I'm the only one that's broken. But we have found ways to safely excavate those causes and the reasons we go to food, the underlying, to uncover the deeper issues. That sounds scary on its face. But if you can just imagine being bolstered by an army that is supporting you, it makes a huge difference. And if you're running out into the field like Wonder Woman with her bracelets and facing all the fires, she has some special skills and some special tools. But it's much easier when we have a whole group of us. We want to uncover the deeper issues at hand and provide you with useful tools to navigate these up till now very scary waters. You want to talk about another one of these components, Patricia?
Yeah, the layers. I think of it as coming through into understanding my own personal recovery and seeing what people do. There's layers. There's layers that we have to sift through. And I call it, we have to be archaeologists of our own work, life. And if you think about it, how archaeologists sift through, they don't like, well, maybe some do, but putting a bomb in and then exploding the earth and having everything fly. It has to be done systematically and calmly and with support because our minds are going to want us to run away. That's what saved us in the past. But now we're getting to the point of we're willing to look at these layers. Let's look at these layers. What am I saying to myself? What am I noticing that I notice that I turn things off? Or what am I saying to myself? These various layers that are needed to be observed with compassion and with curiosity because we've built habits through our lives of being really hard on ourselves, and we don't see that as criticism. We don't see that we're criticizing ourselves. We see it as we're just trying to shape ourselves up finally with them. And that's not what's happening. Criticizing is driving us. And
Every time something hits us between the eyes, we feel like, okay, I'm never going to let that pain or that shock or that revulsion hit me again. without being prepared. I'm going to put all my boundaries up. I'm going to put all my barriers up, anything I can do to stop the onslaught of what I call SWCC, stuff we can't control. And the fact is, when you can look at these layers and realize how far you've come and what you have come through, regardless of how many times you've been beaten and battered, you are a strong, confident person when you feel like you can handle these things that are coming up for you. And that's what these layers are all about, on opening up these layers. When you can walk through all of these layers with people in that trusted connection where you can share this stuff with vulnerability and courage.
And you don't have to be shamed by your feelings. You can share them with people who hear you. They don't have to give you advice, they're hearing you. And also, a bit about the layers, we have to hear it. We have to hear it this way. We have to hear it that way. We have to get more information this way. When we hear it coming from different angles, it slowly seeps in like the archaeologist sifting sand, trying to find something sacred in there. And it takes those layers of hearing it different ways. We can't just tell me what to do. I'll do it. Okay, I did it. Now I don't have any more problems. It is layered in order to get the wisdom that we begin to understand about ourselves.
And a little bit of a reminder about the sick and twisted universe. The reason that we eat is because we want to numb ourselves from the emotions and the feelings and the onslaught. When we stop using food as a numbing source, as a soothing source, we haven't prepared ourselves. We haven't been given tools. We aren't aware of how to handle the onslaught of emotions. They're loud. They're really loud. They're like an AC/DC concert, although I've never been. They're loud. And it takes time for us to evaluate. Do you have any idea why you go off a plan after a few days? Because the noise is too loud, because the things that are happening around you are too big.
But I used to do it. I did it for 9 months. I did it for a year. I did it for 3 weeks. Why can't I do it now?
Yeah. Give yourself a break here and recognize the underlying neurological, biological, sociological, psychological, spiritual reasons. There are so many. And that's why it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like, why do I even bother? But we bother because we care, and we bother because we want certain things. And we get to decide if those things are important enough that we can figure these things out and get to the courage. Patricia and I worked on this program deeply when we were thinking about these different aspects. And we talked about the cornerstones of recovery early on and recognized these four things are consistent and constant and need to be
Foundational.
they are
They're
foundational.
putting in the pillars into the foundation for our work. And we talk about this throughout all our work. We keep bringing these components, these cornerstones in.
When I first thought about noticing, I thought, oh my God, that's such a non thing. There's really nothing to that. It's just what I'm just supposed to sit there and notice. What do I do? What do I do? I'm a very action oriented person. What do I do? But what noticing does is it actually gives you a pause. There's so much neurological science around it, but it gives you a pause and it allows you to build the awareness of your thoughts. We can't fix something until we're aware of it. We can't change something until we're aware of it. Behaviors, triggers, emotions. Observing experiences with mindfulness and curiosity allows you to pull out of your blended self, if you want to use IFS language, and work on the curiosity and the mindfulness. Just sitting in it and go, wow, that's really interesting. I wonder why I did that. I've been doing so well, and all of a sudden I want to veer into Safeway and buy all the crap. What's going on here?
As opposed to saying, I keep doing it over and over again. I never get it right. I'm giving up on myself. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, oh, look what I just said to myself. Wow. If I said that I wouldn't say that to my best friend, but I'm saying it to myself over and over again because you're moving then, noticing, helps you move from the yapping mind that's into your center, your authentic self. You bring compassion with you. You bring curiosity with you. Noticing, it shifts you and gets you out of that racing mind. If you notice, if you can continue, oh, I notice I keep doing the same thing again. And where's that come from? Where did that start? Noticing, it shifts you into your center, into your spiritual self, into your center, into your heart.
Of the key components that I can't say enough about that really helped me these last 4 or 5 years that I've been in business for myself has been a struggle, a challenge, feeling very alone sometimes. And that alarmed aloneness, I know everyone can appreciate just those words, alarmed aloneness. You can be in a party and you can be feeling like you're completely alone. You've got thoughts about what's going on the buffet table. You can't keep your mind off of it. You're trying desperately to have a conversation with the person with you, but you are feeling very alone in that moment and feeling like the huge struggle. When we can allow ourselves to be where we are in that moment, that's a huge shift from wanting to push ourselves out of the pain, wanting to push ourselves out of the intense feelings. It's terrifying sometimes. We feel like we're never going to stop crying. We feel like we're never going to stop raging. We feel like we're never going to stop feeling these horrible feelings. And when we can be heard and seen and understood and validated for those moments, it's the complete opposite of advice giving. Advice is a beautiful gift. Patricia and I do it all the time, and we're coaches. We give advice, but we first sit and honor the place where you are right now. Wherever you are, you should be honored to be there because you got here somehow, some way.
We don't want to be told what to do. We want, even though just tell me what to do and I'll do it and then I'll be fixed. But we really need to be heard. We need to get it out of ourselves. We need to be able to have a safe place where we can say, this is what I happened to me last week, and I've been stewing about it all week. I call it getting that green bile out of you. But you can't do that unless you're in trusted community because you've tried doing that in the past and you've gotten maybe killed for it in some way. That's the next part, resonance in connection with trusted community. So we first notice, oh boy, I've been stewing about this thing all week, and I'm going to talk about it because I have a community that I can talk about it in. I have people I can trust. They're not going to shame me. I'm going to just, it doesn't matter, but they do. Anyway, I need to get this out. And I have these people that I can do it in front of and just get it out, get that bile, get that green, I call it green bile out of me to create a space. What that does, it creates a space within myself to get it out so I'm not stewing and revolving it in my head.
And I like to look at that green bile as beautiful fertilizer for the future vegetables.
Yeah.
It does not need to be awful. There's a psychological component to wanting to keep it inside and shove it down and not think about it. But it does marinate and it does fester. And that's why helping to say it out loud and to be faced with resonance and accompaniment. You're walking with other people who are in the same space. They're not the same person, but they're in the same space and they understand. And everything that you have to say is more than likely going to be a beautiful reminder to someone else. So it counters the illusion of aloneness. That's why this is one of the cornerstones. Staying in the conversation and staying connected. All really important to helping move you forward and to help release. We're talking about releasing the layers of crap that has been built up on you over these many decades from childhood, from the first day you're out, actually, technically from the womb. There's layers and layers of crap that's built up, and we'll be talking about that. Do you want to talk about practice, Patricia?
Yeah, it's doing it again and again and again and again and again, noticing, talking to trusted people, community, having that. In a lot of our communities, and we've been trained to give advice. We want people to stop stressing and give advice. So we have to find a new well to go to if we don't have that, a well of people who understand. They just have to hear me. And I,
And to be clear about the practice too, there's a very important neurological component. We have had decades of practice immediately realizing the food is the thing that's going to solve the problem. And that's what we get to change. We're redoing our neural pathways so
right.
that we don't have to, but it takes practice. There's not a pill out there that's going to help you. Even if you are on one of those amazing new drugs, you still need to figure out why you go to food, because frankly, it's not because of hunger.
No. And practicing it, staying in the conversation, I call it, staying in the conversation. You'll hear it the next time a little bit differently. Or, oh my God, yeah, oh yeah. Even though I've heard this for 4 years, I now am making the connections in the whatever you make connections in the brain. So practicing it again, hearing it again and again. I'm listening to all these great people, Gabor Mate, all these wonderful, they all say the same thing. I hear it over and over, but I'm deepening. With each time I hear it, I can apply it to something and it deepens me. It helps deepen me. Practice.
We have a lot of new perspectives that we wanted to share. Patricia and I got so excited. I didn't put a little, but it felt like I could because I was so excited about these shifts. The practical path is one of the three components that we feel is really important to recovery. We had originally been talking about phases, and we realized that caused people to think linearly. And if they messed with their food, or if their food was a problem, then all of a sudden they felt like they were back at phase one. Guess what? Every single time that you have a face plant or an urge to face plant is a new opportunity. It's a beautiful new way to look at things. And when we talk about the practical path, we talk about reframing things, sensitivity as strength, emotions as opportunities, thinking about mind versus authentic self. That's a whole area of study that Patricia has focused strongly on and that many have embraced. Internal family systems, Gabor Mate's compassionate inquiry. I can think of a bazillion different places, Michael Singer, a ton of different places where they talk about the difference between the mind. I pull in the neurological components, the neuroscience around why our mind does what it does, and the physiological. And between the two of us, I just think we're amazing. But first step is noticing, because we have to be aware. There are a billion things that we get exposed to every day, and we need to be aware of them. And as part of this practical path, we work on time of your plan. I need you to think about this, because the rules can sometimes derail us. I had to make huge changes in my personal plan. Bright line eating saved me. It is my mecca. But I couldn't do certain things because of my super sophisticated system. I had to do smoothies in order for me to even able to get fresh vegetables in. There were times when my system just wouldn't allow it. I had to do protein powders for the similar reason. So when we make changes that work for us, then when we can recognize each one of us has a unique world, and we want to be able to enjoy all of our experiences and also maintain our health. So time for your plan. Figure out what your plan is. Design your own stuff. Figure out what makes sense to you. At some point, you get to trust your brain. At some point, you get to recognize, wait, that's just not serving me in that way. So the reframing and the possibilities of looking and using all of the tools that we have at our disposal is a big part of the practical path. Do you want to talk a little bit about this, Patricia?
Which thing are you on, design for personal power?
I went through it all already fast.
I think what I'd like to just say in reframing, reframing sensitivity as insight, not weakness. Just the principle of reframing. If we can learn to hear what we're saying, if we're noticing what we're saying, and then we move towards how can I look at this in a way that serves me? Because looking at it in this way, I'm noticing that looking at what I'm just looking at now, whatever that is, that's not serving me. How can I reframe it? How can I reframe it? We go into our growing edge and how to be on our edge rather than over the edge. Because what happens so often, we fall over our edge and then we quit and say, okay, it just doesn't work for me. So how to get back on our edge rather than over the edge? We go into those and how to reframe and continuing always to talking about the foundation tools, noticing, resonance, connection, practice, and keeping that in our forefront. Maybe I need to talk to somebody now. Maybe I need to get on a phone call that will help me. And I need to be heard here. I need to get it out of me. And I need to trust that I'm moving forward.
So the first aspect, I want you to recognize that there are different areas within recovery that you can focus on. And one of those is your own plan. What does your life look like, and how can you practically work on this to get it to work? Where are the snags? Where are the issues physically in what I'm eating? So that's the practical path. And then we have the curious heart, embracing willpower differently, the navigating of emotions, the intensity with which we navigate these emotions. Martha Beck uses this process called walking back the cat, but looking back with curiosity rather than regret, looking back at the circumstances under which you may have fallen into the Grand Canyon of ditches, or maybe just a trip, but recognizing what the underlying components are. And if you can go there with curiosity without fear, or to lessen your fear, or recognize that, wow, this is a really scary place, but you can go there with community, trusted community, going
There's, a,
back and looking at it. Go ahead, Patricia.
there's reasons we don't. Food is our torchlight that shines the way. Food, because healthy food is so important to our lives, but it's a torch that lights the way. Something's going on that I have the opportunity to look at. And I was talking to somebody actually in one of Everett's coaching class that I was coaching, and she has been really resistant to looking at what's underneath because she always has, I just really like to taste of food. Or she'll say, I love a bargain. So I go into the store, and if I see a bargain on food, I want to get that bargain because I just like bargains. And when I was talking to her about what's underneath, what's been going on with you lately, she started to talk about how she was feeling alone. She's all alone. This is the first, I don't know if it was the first Christmas, but it was a Christmas that she's heading into. She got through Thanksgiving okay, and Christmas that she's heading into. There's thanks for saying that and getting that, releasing that, because there's that sadness. And so she had talked about how she made herself these things, not my food that she made when she was young and that she used to love to have around Christmas time. And she was just saying she just loves, she wasn't seeing the connection with the alarmed aloneness that she was feeling in those moments that was driving her to it. And ultimately, she doesn't want to be doing that. That's the thing. So we want to do it, but we don't want to do it. So when we don't want to do it, we have to search, and we don't have to do it alone. You can't do it alone. I couldn't have figured these things out on my own. It has to be the juxtaposition of working with people, watching people. My really job as a coach is noticing, hearing commonalities that I have to do it for myself, for my own recovery, and I have to see commonality, the noticing that I see what a person is doing to put something up that they have to go to food in order to help themselves.
Um, this particular area you and I have alluded to is called the messy middle. If you can think about things that haven't resolved themselves, or feeling like things are unfinished, or things about our lives that we wish were different, that we either shove down into that beautiful treasure chest within us and create that lovely green bile that could really be better served in the garden than within us.
Yeah.
This messy middle is an opportunity. And when we say curious heart, there's so much around this. There's so much emotion. There's so much potential pain. There's so much potential fear associated with these areas. But when you have the marshaling of a strong community behind you, asking for help, telling people that this is a really tough time and this is going to be really helpful, and reframing things, our mess can become our medicine. When we can say to ourselves, wow, I just went through that. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. I did this thing. There's so much new science showing why the old ways haven't worked. I too was really affected by, I think it's the second chapter of the Bright Line Eating book that talks about willpower and how it needs to be, it is finite and it needs to be replenished. There's so much information out there now that, because of my own journey, I take classes from all sorts of people that talk about drug addiction and alcohol and other issues, and I've been able to connect dots because of my own experiences and because of my own addictive life, that I've been able to see that science makes so much sense to me. And those kinds of things are underlying the reasons why we do what we do. It makes me feel so much better to understand it's not my fault. It's my crazy brain. It's not my fault.
And the mess can become our medicine.
Yeah.
It's actually lighting the way to the possibility of looking at that and seeing what we can do there.
What we call the third component, the awakening self, is, if I were to say between the two of us, I work really well with the practical aspects of things and the neurological aspects of things, and looking at things that are in your face that you can fix and that you can look at, making your plan your own, that kind of thing. We're both really great with the curious heart and the messy middle. And I would say you, Patricia, shine with the awakening self in looking at these things from through a different lens, and allowing yourself to go up and look at these things and see.
I've had a total 360 turnaround on how I look at that. Because coming from 12 step, and it was not that it's not important, but coming from 12 step is your food comes first, your food comes first, your food comes first, your food comes first. And I was like a broken record on it. And then in my own journey through this and seeing the different things that come up, this different, going through my archaeology of what was my life, I started to see that it's those broken stories that people have, and if they can realign those to who you're in there, we're all in there, but we don't know we're in there because through our lives we're like, yeah, 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 oh my God, this is bad, oh, look at what they're doing, and they're making me feel this way. We've got this crowded mind that we believe, and we see evidence for it, and we fill our heads with those voices that we got for good reason growing up and all. And in looking at this, the food can get into order. So I'm not saying it's one way. because I call it, you can go from the bottom up or the top down. But I've really become a believer in having compassion and looking at ourselves for where we are and learning techniques that we can move through them. Our food will stay in order and be in order. And if it's not, we will use the tools that are learning to use, and our food will, because our food is not like one straight line. It's like things happen. We go on trips, da 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 da. So looking at what's going on and we awaken. And if I'm spending my whole life, which I am spending my whole life on food issues, but on my life now, my dharma is to help people work through their issues around food. I'm no longer on my food issues, except when they come up, which I do, and they do. It does, things do come up. Who am I being? What have I learned and who am I being in the world if I'm not struggling with food? Because that struggle with food keeps you struggling with food and we never break out of it. And there's some fears. Who am I going to be if I'm not? I don't recognize myself if I'm not struggling with food. I don't know who I'll be. Oh, and I'm afraid that things will get dismantled if I do. Those are all the little layer by layer. We get a chance. Should we choose to accept it? It's our mission. Should we choose to accept it? Is to look through those things and learn to ultimately what we're learning and what having food issues has been the catalyst for is to ultimately, I trust myself that I will get through this. I will trust myself. I can get through this.
The power of recovery can be really enlightening and healing. Noticing feeds awareness. If you notice, this process is here. Noticing feeds awareness. Resonance builds trust. Trusted connection supports growth. Practice creates change. And lasting change compounds with consistent practice. And the deeper you go, the more healing takes root. Sound simple? I don't mean to laugh. I just think it's our work. It's our work. It's our work.
Nothing's wrong. What if nothing's wrong? What if nothing's wrong? We're here to grow and deepen. What's wrong about that?
We have a new course starting in January. It's actually starting now because Thursdays we are doing recovery coaching Thursday evenings. But this new course starts January 25th and includes 3+ months of 12 modules live and recorded. We're thinking it's probably 14 weeks. It will include weekly coaching calls on Thursdays and then 3 private one-on-ones with either coach that you can use throughout that 3 months that provides both science and spiritual support, action-oriented and active learning. There's access to a library of masterclasses as well as the course content online. And we're going to be charging $3.99. There are payment alternatives online if you want to spread it out a little bit all through the sign-up system. And the bonus to sign up early is the weekly calls. The class doesn't start till the 25th of January.
Where we go into our lessons in the course, and Thursday nights we have coaching calls. You want to ask if there's questions here, Sonja? This is another way to look at our course. If you're left-brained and you like to see everything modularly printed out, these are the 3 components that we cover in the course: the practical path, where tools meet trust; the curious heart, where patterns meet possibility; and the awakening self, where wisdom meets expression. And what we cover over these 12 weeks in these modules over those 3 months of work. And then there's also So there's lectures in each component, 4 lectures in each component, and then there's Thursday evening coaching call for questions in between and issues that are coming up for people. So that's it in a left brain look at the previous slide. But I'd like to open it up for questions that people might have, or did you want to say something?
I would just love to say that there is a wealth of information that is out there that we have pulled together for this particular new course that we're starting in January. And we have so many people here that have already experienced what we call the foundation of the art of recovery that we did last year. No, wait a minute, it's this year. I guess it's still it's not January yet, that we started in January of this year. But I'm curious if there's anyone that has anything they'd like to say or anything that they would like to ask questions about. What are your questions at this point? Do you have any? Do you have any statements you'd like to have? The class meets this time, Saturday morning, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, on Saturday mornings. And then the Thursday evening class that we offer for additional coaching is at 7 p.m. 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. And that's going on now. We had our first class on Thursday night. Oh, man, it was beautiful. Thursday, it seems like an eternity ago. It was just 2 days ago, but it was beautiful. And those last about an hour. Anyone have any questions or comments or anything that they'd like to share about their experience in the foundational course or in the watch party program that we offered? Yeah, go ahead, let's.
I have a question. Is part of the noticing, realizing that there's more than one reason that we're eating, and we probably have to work through each one, and there's not just
Yet many aspects, absolutely. That's the beauty of, I think, the fact that Patricia and I think differently in certain ways, and we apply different perspectives on a situation. Just take anything. Does anybody have a situation recently where they went to food and they were like, I understand? You'd need to be able to share it with us, but probably give you an idea. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the point of it. There are so many layers to it. It could be, go ahead, Patricia.
Yeah, great question. Let's see. It's so nice to see you here. What I would add to that is that presence will clear out maybe what's the first thing we need to look at so that we don't have to get so inundated with a lot of them. But there are a lot of layers to our stuff because there's a lot of things that are underneath. I'm really angry, and really underneath, I'm really hurt. You know what I mean? The layers start to present themselves. So it doesn't have to be all at once. Just take the first part that seems most pressing in this moment.
Yes, and it can help to realize how complicated it is. When you realize there's a neurological component because my insula is sending out the signal to eat because I've been triggered and it's shut down my prefrontal cortex. So I can't use my emergency action plan. I can't use my body scan to see if I'm hungry or not. I can't stop because my insula has said we're in crisis right now. There's an external threat, even though it's generally internal. Our bodies physiologically recognize an external threat. And with that external threat, our brain goes into crisis mode. It's so clear. There are other potential reasons for why we got triggered. That triggering issue is something you can walk through. And that's what walking back the cat is about, looking back at these things from different perspectives. I like to understand that there's a complexity to it. It makes me feel better to know that I'm not weak. I'm not a loser. I'm a perfectly capable 65-year-old woman. I like to understand that there are components above and beyond me. And why my brain does what it does, it wants me to live, period. It recognizes a crisis, it interprets it as external, and I immediately go to food. But we can change that. Something as simple as noticing. Noticing can reflect on that thing, not beating ourselves up, having a calmer and a quieter and a more gentle inner critic. recognizing why the inner critic's doing what it's doing, recognizing why the rebel does what it does. There are so many different aspects that you can dive into. And that's why we like to spread this over time, because we want to be able to give you space.
And we don't have to do it. We don't do it all at once. Presence will bring up what needs to be dealt with in that moment. You don't have to take all of this on.
Mm-mm.
Kathy,
No,
you have a question, Kathy?
I just have something positive to say that I've been with both of you, Patricia and Sonja, for what, over 5 years. I've been making myself present in the programs, and I have so much more confidence today in myself. Not only do I have confidence in sunshine and rain and whatever, I just have confidence in me that I never had before. I was part of BLE for what, 5 years at least. And now at least 5 years with both of you. And I show up every day and I listen and I learn. And you've given me so much life back. Thank you.
thank you, Kathy. It's lovely having you here.
And other people that are on this call know exactly what I'm talking about, because we all have this new present confidence that I want to hug you both. So thank you. And everyone on this call, you're a wonderful pair. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other questions or comments? Does anyone
Denise?
else have anything?
I have a
Denise, right?
question.
Oh, Denise, hi.
Hi, I made it.
I knew
Um,
you did. I love your hair, by the way. It's sassy.
I appreciate that. So what's the one-on-one coaching? Is it just a session with either one of you?
Right, we didn't talk about that.
I said it for a second, but yes, 20 minutes to spend a little bit of time talking. As Patricia said, this is complicated. You may
Mhm.
find that you've got a particular issue you want more clarity on, and you may not feel comfortable sharing it with the group, or you may not be sure it's even worth sharing with the group. God bless us. We put so many limitations on whether or not we should share. But yes, 20 minutes. There's 3 of them through the course. 20, you can choose 3 times with Patricia, 3 times with me, or a mix. And the links are available when you start the course.
Yeah, it sounds great. I've been following Bright Line Eating. I've lost my weight, but I struggle with that perfectionist piece that always tells me, and working with Patricia, and she knows that I have deeper work to do.
Yeah.
And I just want to honor that you have lost all of your weight and you're in a place where you feel like, okay, everything should be fine, right? And yet there's all of those niggling things. It feels maybe like you're gripping the steering wheel every time you run into a trigger because you don't know, you don't want to go to eat, but you realize the struggle and the energy that, oh my God, it just takes so much energy out of us. And so I just want to honor that you're here and that you recognize there's more to do. We
That's
don't,
right. That's
yeah,
right. It's the fear sets when we get that is an important point to get to on our journey.
Mhm.
Another important part. I've gotten here. Am I going to be able to stick to a food plan for the rest of my life until I'm 90 years old? So there might be deeper work that I need to go to. And I honor you for recognizing that and continuing your journey, continuing the deepening and recognizing. I think I need some more here, not just what sticking to only
Right.
just food plan is about, because everyone says it's not about the food, right? Not about the food. Not about the food. Well, what the hell is it about then? And
Mhm.
that's what we have to go to. Whether we take the pill, I'm totally Switzerland on the pill. Whether we have our stomach stapled, cut apart, whatever we do, we still have to get to looking at causes.
Yeah, and what I want to share a little deeper, I'm terrified of gaining the weight back because I had skin removal surgery and I have gained between 50 and 80 pounds at least 6 times in my life, and I've released 124. So the thought of going back to where I've always gone terrifies me.
Yeah.
So there's my deeper work.
I really relate to that, Denise. When
Yeah.
I was on the bright line eating journey, to me, yes, I have a different set of circumstances because I come from what I call really big numbers.
Hmm.
Being released 170 pounds. That doesn't mean it's easier, or it's just different. I have more sweet fat cells in my system. I have more excess skin. So my lower weight number is really fuzzy to know when I'm at goal, right? To feel, oh God, I've landed the plane, right? But I went from abject fear, which is what you're talking about, to a healthy respect. And that's the work that we talk about throughout this whole process, is going from, there's a reason we have that abject fear. Like you said, you've gained and lost and gained and lost and gained. We know how to diet and we know how to gain weight, but we don't know how to maintain a life with all of the things, the SWCC, the stuff we can't control. We don't know how to do that. We've never been taught that. You didn't learn it in Weight Watchers. You didn't learn it. Bright Line Eating is doing a really good job of supporting, but they can't be all things to all people. This is a support system that is designed to help you chip away at all these other things and release that abject fear. You don't need to feel that, but there's a part of you that's just like, oh, I have so much data. I have so much data that says I gained the weight. I gained the weight. I'm going to gain it again. And you not only released the weight, congratulations, but you also did some really heavy work around that. Surgery had to have been a lot of fun, right?
It really wasn't bad except for the ice storm. We lost power, but yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
Oh, geez.
it was the interesting part of it is the grief that I felt after releasing the skin. Like I threw my protection away and part of myself away.
Oh,
That's
great
part of the
awareness,
thinking.
Denise. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I was first in the program, Bright Line Eating program, I started something called the Skin Sisters for people that come from really big numbers that weren't sure when they released and how much they should release, because DEXA scans don't work because they don't measure the excess skin in relation to fat and lean. And our system says we're supposed to, I'm dying to get to this number. I was 106 in high school. I should be that again. It's ridiculous when you consider the excess skin, but I really appreciate your perspective on that because it is a part of you. Absolutely.
I also want to say that bright line eating led me to understand I had to go deeper. It was a foothold that got me to where that I learned it's not about the food, it's about something else. And so I desire to want to have more people I can talk to about that, either or bright line eating or this. Bright line eating gave me a foundation that I never had before. Even with 12-step, all of the other work I've done, I didn't have before bright line eating. So it's just like sometimes you need to go to a deeper well. You pulled everything out of the well that you can, and now you just want to shift the well and go to another well. But it's not either or. I want to give total, I do. In my experience, I am not in any, I owe a lot to what I learned there. And I learned so much. And it brought me to understand I want to go deeper. And there's different people, it's like a different mission. There's a mission that does say all that we're saying. It's just that I want to really go in there. I want to spend my time in there where I am now and working through these kinds of issues.
One of the biggest issues that helped me was recognizing how important boundaries are. Boundaries can be our savior. They can be our cocoon. They can be our fuzzy pink blanket that wraps us in support. I know I'm never going to do this. I know I'm always going to do these things. But the problem is that we need our own boundaries. We need to determine what makes sense for us and release the idea that I'm not doing it right. If I'm not doing it this way, I'm not doing it right. And at some point, we need to be able to apply this to our world. We're not going to be in the chrysalis stage and the beautiful butterfly expanding forever. We're going to need to live vibrantly to allow this to work over time. And if you're spending your time gripping the steering wheel, if you're spending your time really beating yourself up because you break this rule every freaking day, that rule may not serve you, but we are trained that we can't trust our sweet brains. And that's where we talk about the difference between our mind and what it is saying and our authentic self. We can trust our authentic self. We just need to understand why those words are coming up for us. And if we can release them with an empowerment for ourselves, realizing I can do this thing. I just need to figure out what is working for me. And that my program has changed multiple times in these years because of my physiological issues. I had a great, lovely time of a year with my thyroid that was just off the charts. I'm still working through that. I lost 2 parents in this time. There's so much science around stress and cortisol levels and adrenaline that can really mess with your metabolism. There are so many different issues that we can look at with gentleness. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed because I just listed 17,000 things. What I want, I know Patricia, she's always said, Sonja, don't say so much. No, I'm kidding. But what I'm trying to say is that I trust that you're going to get this, and this is going to make sense to you, and that we will be walking with you wherever you are. I trust that. There's a reason you're here today. Go ahead, Patricia. Sorry.
We've just seen such beautiful work from people who continue the conversation, and it's lovely. It makes me go from, I feel confident in what we speak and in which we speak. And I know Marcia, I can see she's ready to say something. Yay, Marcia.
I have to stay off the camera so that Patricia won't be able to read my mind. I was impacted when I heard some of the numbers. I'm always impacted when I heard some of the numbers. And I heard myself say, well, you only lost 4. And I have to tell those who may, because I know I'm not unique. I may be more outspoken than most, but I'm not, my thoughts are not unique. If I think it, someone else thinks it. And one of the things, other than the color of our skin and the fact that we all have breasts, is we're all similar with this. We all have the same pain. And I know that I put on 8 pounds while Jonathan was in the hospital. Heaven knows what I'm going to put on while he has surgery. But the thing is, I am who I am, but I know the community I sit with. Some of us are blessed to see each other 5 mornings a week. Oh, 6 really. And we know that we have similar stories. Our numbers are different as our ages are, but our stories are sure similar. And if you could walk this path, whatever the number was, you're a hero. You're a hero. Because I know everyone in my family keeps saying, so are you back on sugar yet, Marcia? I said, no, I don't eat sugar. Really? You're still doing that? Yeah, I'm still doing that.
Thanks, Marcia. And it's not about take this course and you will not have any more pain. We can't, we're in the world, we're in our lives, we're human beings reacting. And what we are saying, though, that we can learn how to shift how we look at things so that we go through the pain and we live through the pain with the idea that we're still learning, as opposed to we still don't get it, we still don't have it. I'm still learning, I'm still deepening. It's very exciting to be 80 years old and still be excited about all that I'm learning.
I think you take this course if you want to have community to walk through the journey, because many of us have been seeing each other for 5 years and it's amazing. It's too bad my little Jennifer isn't here, because she started her journey looking away from the camera and now she's right on. Yeah. And there have been some amazing changes with company. Okay, Patricia, I may have to turn off my screen now. No, I appreciate that. You know me that well. or parts of me that well.
Or parts of you appreciate it.
Yeah, not all, that's right. That's a whole other course. Yeah, it's special to have community that knows you.
I don't have, that's a lie. I always have something more to say. But I do know that our intention is not to sell you down the road. Our intention is not to tell you that this is going to be your fix, or that you're going to lose weight, or that this is going to solve all your problems. But I do know that when you look back at your life, when I was in my 20s, I was an anxiety mess. When I look back on all of the work I've already done, and there's still more to do, instead of being upset about that, instead of being frustrated about that's not anything we can change. We have no idea what's coming around the corner. We have no idea what might hit us next. But the more that we can practice the concepts of this, the cornerstones of this program, the easier each one of those smacks in the face is going to be. And you may not need to brace yourself for those smacks in the face, because you might develop a little bit more confidence about being able to handle the next smack in the face, instead of realizing that you need to go to food to soothe you for just a second and compounding your problems.
So Sonja, that you put is that your?
That's the link to sign up. Yeah, I put the link in there. If you click on it, it'll go. I'll be sending it out with the recording again. It's $3.99. It starts now, but the classes don't start till January. So I encourage you all to sign up. I am humbled and honored at how many people have already signed up. There are some people that have been in our course before. We had a foundation course this year, and many of you have already signed up, and I'm honored to be in your company. Can't do this alone.
You'll be getting a video of this. Can people send that out to people they know that might be
Yes,
interested?
I will make sure to send this out, to send this in an email format that you can send out to others. I do recommend, the reason I spotlighted was so that people weren't on camera, but I do want to encourage people to send this out to people that might be interested. It takes time to really develop a trust and a connection with people. Yeah, let's see, you have a question?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Will the people be able to see the recordings of the previous classes you did, or buy them separately or something?
Yes, we do have those available as well. The original course, we call it the Art of Recovery Foundation. It is different than this one. I made Patricia, no, I want to do something different. I want to do it all new. And she was, okay, all right. And now you're like super excited, and you changed everything about the phases just yesterday. So this is an exciting course in movement, because we are always learning something new.
We're always learning, and we're always
learning something new. So yes, the original foundation, which you could start now, which is all available online, is available
And there's a price, there's a cost for
$149. It's $149 for the original course. Yes. And the new course is $3.99, and it's live, and there are Thursday night calls throughout this whole process. So we're hoping to be able to combine all of these things to give you the tools that you need and the neural pathway changes that you need to release and relax and rejuvenate and rejoice. How's that for some R's and alliteration and in the moment?
From 12-step, I got this very important principle: attraction, not promotion. Now, obviously, we are promoting our class. Hopefully, we gave you some things to think about if you don't want to go further, that there's something that you can use. But I also feel, yeah, we're promoting this, but I'm always looking for people that personally who might benefit from it, who might be attracted to it. So when I'm talking to somebody about work or other work that I think is valuable, I don't try to talk anybody into it. I try to just leave it at their feet and see if this makes sense for them. Right? Because we have to come to it ourselves. It has to be something like, I've been waiting for this. Oh, this is just exactly what I've been looking for. I didn't have the words for it yet. but this is giving me the words for it. So attraction, not promotion, but if we don't put it out, nobody who needs it can be helped with it. That's it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Really appreciate you all. Really grateful for everyone that has been able to come today. I heard from many people who needed the recording, couldn't attend live. I want you to hear, if you're not able to attend on Saturday mornings, that does not mean you're not going to get an amazing amount of information out of the course. So if this is a troubling time or a hard time for you, know that these recordings are gold and will get you. And I can say that because we've experienced it and we've lived it with people who have taken this course, and I've never even met them, but I've heard from them that this has been incredibly helpful. So
That's why and people who can't make it, the course, why we added the Thursday, actually, Marcia brought it up. We added the Thursday coaching call so that you could, if you couldn't attend, it would give you incentive to listen to it, because Thursday we're going to have thoughts that come out of that.
all right, we got this, guys. You're stronger
Thank
together.
you so much.
Thank you. Mwah.
Nice
Love
seeing you,
all.
Litz. I miss you.
Yeah,
Oh,
ditto.
Barb,
Wonderful day.
welcome. I see that you're here. I love that you're here. Everyone, I love that all of you are here. Each one.
Please
Ciao.
reach out to me if you have any questions. If you were in the class before, there is a coupon. So if you've taken this class already, we definitely want to honor you, and we definitely want to keep you in the conversation. So reach out to me if you can't find it. Although I think I put it everywhere, but if you can't find it, let me know.
Like me, I won't be able to find it. So
Have a
I just-
wonderful day, everyone.
Have to go.
Mwah.
Love you
Bye,
all.
guys. Love
See
you.
again.